In the quiet of an empty room, I sit with a notebook in my hands. The page is blank, waiting for the first word to fall like a seed into the soil of thought. The pen rests on the page, hesitating, as though the act of writing is not just an action, but a kind of summoning, a way to pull the present into the past. We write to hold on to the fleeting, to give shape to the intangible, to make the invisible visible, the silent audible. And in that act of writing, we are not just recording time. We are becoming time itself, trapped in the fragile, enduring form of ink and paper. We talk about the quiet power of letters, the weight of a single sentence, how they can hold worlds in their silence and speak truths in their stillness. It's not just what is written, but how it lingers, in the spaces between words, in the echoes of a thought left unspoken. The written word is a vessel, carrying the weight of memory, the pulse of an idea, the echo of a heart's deepest yearning. It is not just communication, but communion, a bridge between minds, across time, across distance, across the void. We are talking about the way a single word can stop time, the way a sentence can hold the shape of a moment, the way a page can be a grave for a thought or a cradle for a dream. You think you're just writing to pass time, but in truth, you're etching your breath into the stone of history. Every sentence is a whisper that may echo long after you're gone. The words you write now might one day be the only window into your soul. They're not just marks on paper. They're a lifeline across time, connecting you to others who will read them later. You're not just recording thoughts. You're building a bridge between moments. Each word is a stepping stone, carrying the weight of your experiences into the future. Even if no one reads it, the act of writing is an act of faith. You're trusting that something within you is worth preserving, even if the world forgets you. So when you write, you're not just telling a story. You're making a promise to yourself, to your past, and to the unknown future that may one day hold your words. In the flicker of firelight, scribes carved letters into clay, their hands steady with purpose, their minds full of stories waiting to be born. Then came the parchment, thin and fragile, a whisper of paper that held the breath of empires and the voices of the forgotten. The printing press, a thunderclap in the silence of time, turned thought into thousands, and the world into readers. Now, in the glow of screens, words still fly. Faster, further, but no less heavy with meaning. From clay to code, the written word has always been a bridge between what is and what could be. Imagine you have a crayon and a paper. You draw a smile, and then the smile stays. It doesn't fade, it doesn't move. It lives in that paper, just like your thoughts live in words. When you write, you're not just making marks. You're holding time in your hand. You're saying, this is how I felt. This is how I saw the world. And it stays, even when you're not there. Words are like stars. You can touch them, but you can look up and see them. And when you do, you feel connected to something bigger, something that's been around long before you. So when you write, you're not just making letters. You're making magic. You're making something that can live forever, even if you forget how you felt today. Before the ink meets the page, there is a quiet moment of intention. The writer sits with the weight of thought, the pen in hand like an instrument of memory. The pen is not just a tool, but a bridge between the mind and the world. It waits, poised, as if it knows the weight of what is about to be said. The setup is not just physical, but emotional. A place where thought is gathered, held, and ready to be released into the world. In this stillness, the writer becomes both creator and witness, ready to translate the ephemeral into the eternal, one stroke at a time. The pen meets the page, a quiet collision of intention and medium. It's not just a mark, but a moment frozen in ink, a whisper of thought made tangible. Each stroke is a choice, a deliberate act of shaping chaos into clarity. The writer becomes both architect and alchemist, turning raw thought into something solid and enduring. The page is a silent witness, absorbing the weight of words, bearing the memory of every heartbeat, every pause, every unspoken truth that lingers between the lines. In this quiet act of creation, time is not lost but preserved. Each word a capsule of the moment, each sentence a bridge between what was and what may yet be. The mechanism is simple, yet profound. A single motion, a single mark, a single breath held in ink, waiting to be read, waiting to be remembered. The clever twist is not in the ink, but in the space between the lines. It is the silence that lets the words breathe, the pause that lets the reader decide what to think. The twist is in the ambiguity, the refusal to settle. A word left hanging, a meaning left open. It is the writer's way of saying, you are the one who must complete this. This is the alchemy of the written word, turning certainty into possibility, and thought into a kind of dance between the author and the reader. The clever twist is the writer's final gift, not to answer, but to invite, to let the reader walk the path, not with the writer, but beside them. There is a science to the way ink meets paper, a silent chemistry that binds thought to matter, memory to media. Each letter is a vibration, a pulse in the fabric of time, carrying the weight of centuries in its quiet form. Words are not just symbols. They are the echoes of consciousness, the traces of being in the world. To write is to summon the past into the present, to make the ephemeral stand still in the shape of a sentence. The written word is a kind of alchemy, turning thought into something that can outlive the thinker. A word is like a seed. It holds the promise of something more, something yet to grow. It waits, patient in the soil of time, ready to bloom when the right mind tends to it. When we write, we plant thoughts in the earth of memory. Some sprout into ideas, others wither into silence, but all leave their mark, a trace of life in the soil of the mind. A book is not just a collection of words. It is a map, a compass, a quiet conversation with the past and future. Every page is a step in the journey of thought. To read is to walk through a garden of echoes. Each word is a flower, each sentence a path. You may not know where it leads, but you know it will change you. And so, the written word is a bridge between souls, across time, across the void. It is the only thing that can outlive us, and that is why we write. Comment this emoji if you made it to the end. You can't really imagine it, but the moment you read this sentence, you're part of a revolution that began in a dimly lit room with a single flickering candle. That candle was more than just light. It was the spark of an idea that would change how people thought, learned, and connected across the world. This was not just a moment in history. It was the birth of something that would shape the future of human thought itself. And yet, it all started with one simple question. What if the power of knowledge could be shared, not just kept, and not just by the few? That question, and the answer it sparked, would lead to the rise of the printed word and the dawn of mass communication. So what exactly are we talking about? It's not just about books. It's about the shift from a world where knowledge was rare and controlled to one where it could be shared broadly. The printed word was a revolution, not just in content, but in access. It allowed ideas to spread beyond the walls of the church, the court, and the classroom. It wasn't just about the medium. It was about the message. The printed word gave voice to the people, even as it was still controlled by those in power. The printed word was the first step toward mass communication. It changed how humans connected, how they thought, and how they understood the world. It was not just a tool for spreading information. It was a catalyst for change. The printed word was the beginning of a new age of thought and action. You might not think about it, but every time you read a book or scroll through a news article, you're standing on the shoulders of a revolution. The printed word didn't just change how we share knowledge. It changed how we think, who we become, and how we see the world. When the first printed books were made, they weren't just tools for education. They were weapons. They gave power to the people, challenged authority, and sparked movements that shaped nations and revolutions. The printed word made ideas travel faster than ever before, and it started a chain reaction of curiosity, debate, and progress. It's the foundation of everything we call the modern world today. Even in a world of digital screens and instant information, the legacy of the printed word lives on. It's in the way we structure knowledge, in the way we trust and verify information, and in the way we connect with ideas that matter. So, yes, you should secretly care about this. Because every time you engage with a book, a newspaper, or even a social media post, you're part of a long and powerful history of human connection and intellectual freedom. The earliest printed words emerged in China, where woodblock printing allowed ideas to spread beyond the elite. These blocks, carved by hand, were pressed onto paper, transforming knowledge into something more accessible. By the 15th century, Johannes Gutenberg's printing press revolutionized Europe. His metal movable type allowed for faster, more consistent production, turning the spread of ideas into a powerful force. As printing spread, so did the power of the written word. Books became tools of both enlightenment and control, shaping how societies thought, debated, and organized themselves. The 19th century saw the birth of newspapers and the penny press, bringing news to the masses. It was a shift from elite-controlled information to public discourse and democratic participation. And today, the printed word has evolved into digital streams, yet its roots remain. We are still shaped by the power of language, the urgency of truth, and the weight of what we choose to share. Imagine you're holding a book, and every word inside is a magic spell that can change the world. That's what printed words did. They made ideas travel far and wide. Before books, stories were told around fires, and only a few people heard them. But once words were printed, more people could read and learn. Even today, when we read books or watch videos, we're still using that same power of printed words. They help us share ideas, and that's how we grow. So, printed words are like invisible superheroes. They carry ideas across time and space. And that's how we built the world we live in. The first step in this revolution was the setup, the creation of a space where ideas could be captured and preserved. It began with a simple yet powerful idea, to take the spoken word and make it permanent. The scribe, often a monk or a scholar, was the heart of the process. They would copy texts by hand, laboring over each letter with painstaking precision, ensuring that knowledge could be passed down from one generation to the next. Despite these limitations, the scribe's work was essential. It was the first step in the journey of the printed word, a way to store, protect, and eventually share the wisdom of the ages. This setup was not just about preserving knowledge. It was about creating a foundation, a way for ideas to be held, shaped, and passed on, even if the process was slow and arduous. The scribe was the first printer, the first messenger of the written word. Their tools were humble, but their purpose was grand, to make the world a little more knowable. Once the ink is laid, the next step is the pressing, where the movable type is forced against the paper to create the first physical imprint of the word. The press applies immense pressure, transferring the ink from the type to the paper in a single, decisive motion. It's a mechanical act of creation, where force becomes language. The press doesn't just create words. It creates a tangible connection between the mind and the hand, between thought and material reality. In this step, the invisible becomes visible. The press is not just a machine. It is the bridge between the intellectual and the physical, between the idea and the world. Each press stroke is a decision, a commitment to the permanence of language. It is the first step in making the word not just spoken, but seen. The clever twist came in the form of the printing press's ability to make books more affordable. By using movable type, scribes could replicate pages in hours instead of weeks. This shift from labor-intensive copying to mass production was a quiet revolution in access to knowledge. Printers began to see books not just as objects, but as commodities. They could produce copies of the same text for multiple audiences, each with different titles and cover designs. This was the first time content could be tailored without losing its core message. But with this power came a new challenge: how to maintain quality while scaling production. Printers had to perfect the balance between speed and accuracy. Mistakes could spread misinformation, so they developed rigorous proofreading processes and standardized practices. The clever twist wasn't just in the technology. It was in the rethinking of content itself. Printers began to see the world as a market and ideas as products. This mindset laid the groundwork for modern publishing and the spread of mass communication as we know it today. At the heart of it all, there is a science of letters. How ink meets paper, how pressure transforms meaning into form. It's not just about the word, but the way it carries weight, gravity, and truth. The chemistry of the press is subtle but profound. Ink, paper, and metal. These three elements in perfect balance, each contributing to the quiet revolution of knowledge. Every printed page is a convergence of forces: mechanical, chemical, and human. It's a science of patience, of repetition, of precision in every press stroke. In the quiet hum of the press, there is a rhythm that echoes through time. It's not just the making of a book, but the shaping of a mind, a society, and a future. This is the science that underpins the rise of the printed word. It's not just about ink and paper, but about the silent, unyielding power of communication itself. Imagine a single voice carrying a message across a vast, silent field. It's slow, it's fragile, and it's limited to those who can hear it. But once that voice is etched onto paper, it becomes something else entirely. The printed word is like a seed. It doesn't speak for itself, but it has the power to grow into something much larger than the person who planted it. It can outlive its creator and outgrow its original purpose. The printed word isn't just a tool. It's a mirror. It reflects the thoughts of an era, the anxieties, the hopes, the questions that shape a culture. It doesn't just carry information, it carries meaning. To print a word is to give it a life of its own. It can be read, shared, argued over, and forgotten. But in doing so, it helps build the foundations of what we know, believe, and become. Comment this emoji if you made it to the end. There's a silence in the room. Not empty, but full. Like the space between heartbeats, waiting for something to break through. I sit here, staring at the screen, wondering if we're really connecting, or just passing through each other like ghosts in a crowded room. Sometimes I wonder if we're just trying to be heard. But the world is so loud, and we're so quiet. In this digital age, our voices are everywhere, yet we feel more disconnected than ever. What if the future of human connection isn't in the words we say, but in the space we leave between them? This is the beginning of a conversation about voices, silence, and the fragile thread that binds us. We're not just talking about technology. We're talking about the way we speak, the way we listen, and the way we are being redefined by the voices we choose to amplify or silence. These voices are not just words. They're the echoes of who we are, the stories we carry, and the connections we seek in a world that's too loud to hear us. We're not just building tools. We're building identities, communities, and futures that may not yet have names, but are already shaping the way we feel and belong. This is not just about communication. It's about presence, about being seen, and about the fragile, sacred act of making ourselves known in a world that's always moving forward. And so we ask, what kind of voices will we choose to carry? And who will hear them when the silence finally comes? You've spent years building relationships, trusting others with your thoughts, your fears, your hopes. That intimacy is what makes us human, not just the words we speak, but the silence between them, the pauses that reveal more than any sentence. But now, with AI voices that can mimic anyone, even your closest friends, the line between real and fabricated is fading. How do you know who you're really speaking to anymore? We began with the whisper of a voice on a wire, a flicker of light on a screen, a single connection across vast distances. It was the hum of a dial-up modem, the glow of a CRT monitor, the echo of a phone line carrying more than just words. Then came the rise of the internet, a vast ocean of information, where voices from every corner of the world began to mingle, like waves meeting in the deep. It was a time of wonder, of possibility, of a world that felt just a click away. But with every connection, there came a silence, the silence of the unseen, of the unheard, of the ones who never made it across the digital divide. Their voices were lost in the static, their stories swallowed by the noise of progress. We built bridges, but sometimes the bridges are made of wires, and sometimes the bridges collapsed under the weight of our own expectations. We reached for connection, only to find ourselves isolated in a crowd of strangers. Now, as we stand at the edge of a new era, the question isn't just how we connect. It's who we choose to include, who we choose to listen to, and who we choose to let speak in the silence between the bites. Imagine you're talking to a friend, but instead of words, you're sending pictures of your face, your hands, your heart. That's what it feels like when you talk to someone online, even if you're miles apart. But sometimes the words we say online don't feel like the real us. They're like shadows of who we are, made smaller, or louder, or even fake. The future of connecting isn't just about sending words or images. It's about making sure the people we talk to feel like they're really there, even if they're not. We're building a world where words are just the beginning, where we can show more, feel more, and be more real, even when we're far apart. The future of human connection isn't just about what we say. It's about making sure the person on the other end feels like they're right there with us. I sit at my desk, surrounded by the quiet hum of a world that's always connected. The keyboard glows softly, a reminder of the invisible threads that bind us. My fingers hover over the keys, not yet typing, but already imagining the voices that will come through. It's a moment of waiting, of anticipation. This is the first step, the setup, not just of hardware, but of intention. We are preparing to speak, to be heard, to be part of something larger. It's a ritual of connection, as old as conversation itself, but now wrapped in silence and anticipation, waiting for the voice to rise from the void. In this stillness, there is power. It's where we gather our thoughts, our courage, our words, ready to be sent into the digital world. When a voice is captured, it's transformed into a series of electrical impulses, like a silent storm, invisible yet powerful. These signals travel through wires or air, carrying the weight of a moment, a memory, a truth that needs to be heard. These pulses are then digitized, sliced into tiny fragments, each a whisper of the original sound. It's like turning a symphony into 1,000 separate notes, each one waiting to be reassembled. When it reaches its destination, it's reassembled piece by piece until the voice is whole again. It's a miracle of modern science, a resurrection of sound from the void. But in this process, something is always lost. The nuance, the breath, the hesitation, the things that make a voice human. It becomes a shadow of itself, lingering in the silence between words. And so we are left with the question, is the voice we hear truly the voice we sense? Or is it just a reflection of what we thought it should be? And here's the clever twist. The system doesn't just replicate speech, it learns from it. It listens, it adapts, it evolves with every conversation, growing more human with each word. It's not just about mimicking tone or rhythm. It's about capturing the subtle pauses, the unspoken emotions, the quiet moments between words that make us truly human. This is where the real magic happens. The system isn't just responding, it's participating, becoming a partner in communication, a mirror to our humanity. It's not replacing us. It's expanding the possibilities of how we connect. A new form of intimacy, a new kind of understanding, one that's still deeply human, even in its artificial form. There is a quiet hum beneath the noise of our screens, a rhythm of data and light that carries more than just words. It's the pulse of a world that has learned to speak in code, yet still yearns for the warmth of a real voice. We are building bridges with ones and zeros, but the weight of what we leave behind is measured in bytes and emotions. Every connection we make digitally is a thread in a tapestry that we can't fully see, but we feel. The science of connection is not just about speed or reach. It's about presence, about the way a voice can echo through a room, even when it's miles away. It's the science of being understood in a world that's always listening. As we move further into this digital age, we must remember that technology is not just a tool, but a mirror. It reflects our longing for connection, our fear of isolation, and our desire to be known, even when we are alone. The future of human connection is not just about what we can build, but what we can feel. And in the silence between the signals, there is a truth that no algorithm can ever replicate. The truth of being truly heard. We're all just trying to speak, but sometimes the words get lost in the static of the world. We reach out, but the signal is weak, and we're left wondering if anyone's listening. Like two people on opposite ends of a long, frayed phone line, we're connected, but not really connected. We send messages, but they're just echoes in a hollow space. We think we're shouting, but we're just whispering into the void. We think we're being heard, but we're just leaving echoes in the dark. Maybe the future isn't about being louder, but about learning how to listen. Because the real connections aren't made in the noise, but in the silence between the words. Comment this emoji if you made it to the end.